On down and down.
Oh, oh goodness. I'm still so jet lagged. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry, by the way, if you can hear a lisp in my voice. I have invisible aligners right now because I'm trying to straighten out my teeth, and they cause me to have a slight lisp. So bear with me. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about my first 24 hours in Japan, which it was an experience. It was an experience. If you follow my channel, you know that my last video was my layover at LAX, which was really, really fun. We went from St. Louis to LA with a couple of inconveniences in between. But when we finally made it to LAX, we were there for about 8 hours or so before our flight to Japan left. We stayed at the Westin, and it was super awesome, and I'll link it up here. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch that. Obviously, we couldn't get to explore LA like we wanted to. We were there for a limited amount of time, and we were exhausted. We flew to Tokyo, Japan, and we landed in the Tokyo Haneda International Airport. And that was fun. The flight was long. It was from LA, it was about 13 hours or so. And basically in the flight, we just saw a bunch of movies to have the time go by. Once we landed in Tokyo, it was it was a unique experience. Before you land in Tokyo, they have you fill out a U.S. International Customs form, which is basically your intentions on visiting the country of Japan, your length of stay, where will you be staying, things of that nature. And they gave us these forms. It's one per family, but since Alex and I aren't married, we got two. So we each filled it out with our address in Japan as well as our immigration status. This is kind of supposed to speed the process through customs, even though the process wasn't that long. It was just really, really, really intimidating. At least in our flight, from our experience, when we flew from LA to Japan, we didn't actually see the airport until we passed through customs and immigration. It's kind of like them saying, we don't really fuck with you like that, so we're not gonna roll out the welcome wagon until we see what your intentions are in our country, basically. So Alex and I were separated. They spoke little English, at least the clerk, the immigration officer that I got, spoke very little English. But it was fine. I showed him my passport, and I showed him my my flight ticket from when I leave from Japan. Because I am a U.S. citizen, you can stay in Japan up to 90 days with no visa, which is awesome. But after 90 days, they want to know that you're leaving. So the best way to do this is to show them a flight of you exiting the country. It doesn't have to be to your country of origin. It can just be any country. Alex and I are taking a trip to Seoul, South Korea in October, which is about when my 90-day mark is at. So it worked out perfectly. That being said, they never actually asked me to show them the proof that I am leaving after 90 days. So I guess it just depends on the immigration officer that you get that day and what kind of mood they're in. After I pass through immigration and customs, they actually disinfect your shoes, the soles of your shoes, just to make sure that you're not bringing in any foreign bacteria, illnesses, or diseases and things of that nature, which is totally safe. It's worth mentioning that Japan actually has a national healthcare insurance for all of its residents. So, checkmate. After we went through customs and through immigration, I thought they stamped your passport, but they actually don't do stamps, at least in my situation. We just got a little sticker on our passport that said Japan, basically. So after you go through this really stressful and intimidating process, you open the doors to this corridor and you see the welcome to Tokyo sign, and it starts to look more like an airport. After that, you roll out with your luggage, which the customs actually does go through just to make sure that you're not bringing anything illegal into the country, like guns or ammunition, things of that nature. And after that, you're on your own. We just took a taxi from the airport to our apartment in Nakano. The taxi drivers were, this is, I mean, you have to see to believe. These taxi drivers aren't like regular taxi drivers where I'm from. They were dressed in suits. Some of them wore gloves. They kind of look like butlers. I mean, they took their job very seriously. Our taxi driver probably told us his name and I completely forgot. But he was super nice. He unloaded our bags at our apartment and even offered to walk us up to the apartment, which obviously we didn't feel comfortable with doing that. The commute from the airport to our apartment complex was about 35 minutes. The commute itself wasn't too bad. Traffic wasn't too heavy, but it was still very expensive. It was about 90,000 yen, which translates to almost $100 in US dollars, which was pretty expensive, but it was nice. And you don't have to tip them. Although I felt kind of uncomfortable. I felt like we should have tipped them. It's worth also mentioning that in Japan, tipping is actually considered rude, and a lot of people look at you sideways when you try to give them a tip. So you just don't. Once we met with Akane, we climbed up with all our luggage, 3 flights of stairs until we got to our apartment. We signed our lease, we unpacked, and by the end of the day, we were so exhausted, we walked over to the konbini to get essentials and a snack. Konbinis are basically convenience stores. There's one literally in every corner, all over the city, all over town. And a lot of locals go in there to get a quick snack or a bite to eat or liquor, which is pretty handy. We bought some snacks and we walked over back to our apartment. The nearest konbini is probably like 500 meters. It's not even a mile. It's super, super close. And we were so jet lagged, we just went straight to bed after trying to figure out how our shower works. The day after, we went walking around our neighborhood just to try to see what's around and explore. We have noticed that there is a lot of vending machines everywhere, but they all have different items. They all have different types of drinks. Some of them have coffee, some of them have sparkling water. Normally all of them have some type of water though, which is good. So that was my first 24 hours in Japan. We got around pretty good, considering our Japanese is basic at best. Basic, and that's just us being very generous. I hope you enjoyed this little story time of my 24 hours in Japan. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It'll really help me out a lot. I appreciate you guys bearing with me. If you follow my social media handles, you know I've been posting stuff, but it's just kind of been all out of whack because of the time difference and stuff. I promise I will have this down before I leave to go back to the States. Hopefully. I hope you're having an awesome day and an awesome rest of the week wherever you are. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Mwah. Bye.